folks, it's Jimmy Stewart here, hoping this is finding you all doing well. Today's video, I was going to go back and answer a lot of the questions that I've been getting recently, and I normally will do that with an episode of
Ask the Chief with Jimmy Stewart.
Yes. So in today's episode, I'm going to answer some of those questions, and mostly about the theory behind the guitar. Now, I don't want to do this and get into a big theory class. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole, at least not in this particular video. So I promised. It was one of other subscribers, Miss MJ Vic 1952. MJ Vic 1952 asked a couple of questions when I did my dyads and triads and double stops. Oh my video. When I did that, I thought I was keeping it fairly simple, but MJ Vic 1952 wanted me to explain a couple of things, so I'll try to do that, and I promised him I would do it without going into that huge rabbit hole of theory. But there's a few things that we need to talk about so that it does make sense. Okay? So hopefully in today's video we'll go over those, and it will give you a better understanding if you had the same question as MJ Vic 1952 may have had. Okay? So let's get to it. So the first thing to understand is that a long, long time ago, you know, back before Sting, so the first thing to remember is that a long, long time ago, the Western world was trying to decide on how to really write and come up with a compromise on music. So what they decided to do was, by listening and by understanding frequency, they decided that music itself, at least in the Western world, has 12 notes. Now, we all know that that's really not true, but again, I'm not going to jump into that theory barrel, but understanding that in today's world, the majority of Western music is divided into 12 notes, what we call the chromatic scale. So basically what that means is that between a C note and the octave of that C note, there is 12 other notes that combine, and that makes up the difference between the C1, for instance, and the C2, which is an octave of it. So to our ears, when you play that C note, when you play the octave of it, it sounds the same, just an octave higher. And to separate that, what we call an octave, is 12 notes. Okay? Pretty simple. Not exactly science, but it's close enough to the human ear that we can actually separate those 12 frequencies. It's not exact, but it's close. It's more of a compromise, okay? Now, out of those 12 notes, we have 7 major notes, and that's, again, your A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. We don't go to H's and things like that. We have 7 notes, right? And to make up, because we just got done saying we have 12 notes total, so those 7 notes also have 5 flats and or sharps that make up the 12. Sounds pretty simple. However, it gets a little bit dicey, only because when you get to an E, for instance, the sharp of an E is an F. So there's no sharp there. And when you get to B, the next note up is a C. So there's no sharp of the B. So we have 7 major notes and 5 flats and or sharps, depending on the scale and depending on the chords that you are actually playing, because they have the same names. So we have 7 notes with 5 sharps and or flats that make up the 12 notes that are separated in that octave. Let me grab the guitar and I'll be able to demonstrate this a little bit better for you as well. So let's look at the guitar neck, and we'll try to get this nailed down a little bit better for you. So on a guitar neck, your octave is up here on the 12th fret. That's why you have little dots here. Sometimes you'll have double dots depending on the guitar. But right here at the 12th fret is your octave for your open string. So if you're playing an open E, this is going to be the octave. And there's 12 notes that separate that. So you've got your E, F, sharp, G, sharp, A, sharp, B. What happens here? C. So there's no sharp of the B. Sharp, D, sharp, E. So you'll notice on there was 2 notes that didn't have a sharp. That's the E and the B. That's why we don't have 14 notes. We have 12. We have 7 regular notes, 5 flats and sharps. So again, E in your first note is an F. So there's no sharp. There's no E sharp. You have an F sharp, which is actually the same thing as a G flat, right? G, sharp, A, sharp, B, C, because there's no B sharp. So those are the 2 notes. The E and the B don't have a sharp. Now on guitar, MJ Vick 1952 was confused when I was talking about the root, the 3rd, and the 5th, when I was talking about how dyads and double stops sound good, usually with a 5th or a 3rd, and he was confused by that. And that's pretty simple. Again, I'm going to try to do this as simple as I can. So let's take a normal diatonic scale, which is a 7-note scale, actually 8 because you're including the tone note. But it's a 7-note scale. Think of it as the do-re-mi scale. Right? That's the scale in G. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You add the 8th because it's the same note. It's a G, but there's only 7 notes in that scale. But you don't want to end the scale before it resolves, right? But it's a 7-note scale because these notes are both the same. They're the G notes. Now that is the root. So if I'm playing in the key of G, that's the root note, and that's what I'm talking about with root. If you're playing an A, that's the root note. Okay? If I'm playing an E, the E's the root note. So what about the 3rd and the 5th? Good question. The 3rd note of the scale in the major scale of G is what? It's a B. Because you can count it. G, A, B, right? Now if I was going to do it on the just on the E string, and you can see what I'm doing. The 3rd is the 3rd note of that scale. Pretty simple. What about the 5th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is that? Let's count it. You're starting in G. G. There's no H, so now we go back to the beginning. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Right? G, A, B, C, D. So the 5th is a D. Now when I was playing those double stops and those dyads, so if you're let's look at a G. What note am I playing there? That's what I meant. So by using the fifth and my root, that's what I was talking about. That's how you figure out the third and the fifth. Now, to learn those scales, it's very, very simple. In fact, I'm going to give you a tip that I learned quite a long time ago, and it does help. And it goes like this. For your major scales on a guitar, there is a pattern, okay? And that pattern, it's actually on the piano as well, but we're not going to talk about piano, guys. We're going to talk about guitar. That pattern for a major scale is, I'm going to put it on the screen too. It's W, W, H, W, 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 H. Or as I prefer it to say, what, huh? What, huh? And it's very simple. Those are the patterns of finger placement for your major scales. And it's anywhere on the neck. Okay, you can start on any note and play that scale anywhere on the neck. Now we're going to go back to G and I'll show you how that works. But again, WWH, WWWH, and that stands for whole note, half note. Whole note and half note. And you'll notice that there's 7, right? 7 notes. Again, it's a major scale. Whole note, half note, whole note, half note. On a guitar, a half note is a single fret, and a whole note is 2 frets. So if I'm going from G to A to get there, you can see I'm using 2 frets, and that's a whole note. So looking at that scale, that pattern for the scale, you'd go, there's your half, there's your half. So starting on the G, whole note, half note, whole note, half note. If I was going to do an A, it's the same thing. Whole note, half note, whole note, half note. What about the minor scale? Well, the minor scale is written as whole note, half note, whole note, half note, whole note, whole note. And that's the pattern on a guitar neck. Whole note, half note, whole note, half note, whole note, whole note. Starting with the G, whole note, half note, whole note, half note, whole note, whole note. Whole note, half note, whole note, half note, whole note, whole note. Whole note, half note, whole note, half note, whole note, whole note. So there you go. So, and again, a diatonic pattern or a 7-note scale is always written that way. It is always a scale that has 5 whole notes, 2 half notes, or 5 whole note intervals and 2 half note intervals. Now a pentatonic scale is something that's very similar, except it has 5 notes in it instead of the 7. And again, this is more of a blues-oriented type of scale that most people learn to begin with. And it's basically, if you're playing it in G, we'll do the minor. So you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That 6 is the resolved note. Again, it's the same, it's the G, but there's only 5 notes in the scale. Again, you want to find that, these are the minors, you want to find it by taking your index finger, if you know where A is here, and you know where G is, and you know where F is, and you know where B is. So here's your A. You can find it anywhere on the neck, and that's with the minor. Now, if you were doing the major on a pentatonic, what you'd want to do is you could do that same thing if you're in A, but use your pinky to come up to your A. Right? And the pattern is the same, anywhere on the neck, anywhere. Minors, majors. So that would be B. You see I'm starting on the B with my pinky. That's your major. A. B in the minor. See, it's a 3-step, the 2s and 2s to get up, 2s, 3s, and 3s. Okay, so hopefully that helps you out a little bit. And another question that was asked in one of the blues things I was doing, I think it was one of the blues learning bits, one of the blues videos that I did, somebody was asking about, well, you know, what is this 1-4-5 thing? And I was trying to figure out what they were talking about, and then I realized, oh, okay, he's talking about a standard 1-4-5 blues progression. And progressions like that, when you're talking numbers, so say you're got a band that you're going to audition for, and that you go into the rehearsal, and the guy says, okay, we're going to do a blues number, we're going to do a 1-4-5 blues in A. It doesn't make a difference what key it is, but we're going to do a 1-4-5 in A. Let's go. Here we go. And you're like, what's a 1-4-5? Okay, so in those counting, and again, it's the same math, it's the same numbers and letters that you're growing accustomed to, because again, we only have 12 notes, so you should be able to figure that out. But a 1-4-5, let's figure that out. So we're in the key of A. Right? So you know the 1 is the root. You're in A. That's the 1. So from A, you're going to count, they said a 1-4-5. So you're going to count to the 4th note, okay? And that should be your 4. So let's do that. And you always count the note, the root that you're starting with. So you're going to go A, B, C, D. So that's 4. A, B, C, D. So D is a 4. So you know that the song that you're playing, or the song that they're going to play, is A, D, And what did he say? The 1-4-5, right? A, B, C, C, D, E. E is the 5. So in blues, a 1-4-5 in A would be A, D, E, those three. And usually, you know, whether it's 12-bar blues or whatever. So that would be a 1-4-5. In G, same thing. So if G is your root, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 would be a C, 5 would be a D. There you go. Okay, MJ Vic 1952, I hope that helped you a little bit in figuring out what we were talking about. Gave you a couple of clues of how to get those scales, how to figure out those scales, why the scales are the kind of the way they are, with going into theory just a little bit, but leaving out a majority of that. And then hopefully answering, you know, the third and the fifth and the root questions for you, the 1-4-5 type of stuff, and those kinds of things. So, okay, folks, we're going to leave it for today. I thank you so much for stopping in. Thank you so much to MJ Vic 1952 for the questions. Oh, and Chance, he had a question as well. He was asking about the Grote SG here, the Billy Joe Bob, and it's doing just fine, as you can see. We'll do the little intro piece that we did, and we'll leave you with a little piece for the outro as well. Folks, thank you for stopping in. I really do appreciate it. All the subscribers, thank you so much. If you're still on the fence, yes, come on over to the good side. Would love to have you on board. Until next time, folks, it's Jimmy Stewart saying so long. Take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. And we'll talk to you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.